If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With All Trails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today.
From your favorite source for Chicago White Sox talk, delivering news, interviews, analysis, and more. This is the Sox Machine Podcast with your hosts, Jim Margulis, James Fegan, and Josh Nelson.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome to a new Sox Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Nelson, and it's Thursday night, May 8th, 2025, as we bring you this episode. After an optimistic weekend at home against the Houston Astros, the White Sox fell back as the nightmare playing at Kauffman Stadium continues. The Kansas City Royals not only swept the White Sox in 4 games, which is a mop, a cap tip to the Cespedes barbecue crew, but held the White Sox to just 4 runs, including 2 shutouts, and won 10-0 on Thursday. The White Sox haven't won a game in Kansas City since September 6th, 2023. So now it's an 11-game losing streak for the White Sox at KC. What gives? Why the issues at Kansas City? We'll recap the series and look ahead to this Mother's Day weekend as the Miami Marlins visit. We also remember a past legend, and the new Pope is a White Sox fan. Joining me is Sox Machine's beat reporter, James Fegan. And James, the White Sox pitching for 3 games did an admirable job, holding the Royals to just 9 runs in 3 games. The Royals didn't score more than 4 runs in any of those games, and yeah, that 4-run game is because of a 9th-inning meltdown that I don't think, as much as we want to forget, James, we probably won't be forgetting what happened in that 9th inning. And Thursday got out of hand late, but after scoring 15 runs in 3 games against the Astros, only 4 runs against the Royals. Watching these games this week, any thoughts on what in the world happened to the offense against Kansas City?
Well, they did do the entire series without Andrew Benintendi, which, people might not want to hear this, but arguably most reliable hitter. So not good to swap that out with pull a name out of the air. Heavy doses of Josh Palacios or whatever, like the next rung down as far as left-handed option that they feel obligated to put in there. So personnel simply is that. Kansas City is also really just getting by on run prevention. So this is what they do. They have a ballpark that certainly is not going to reward a team with marginal power. And sure enough, the White Sox did not homer all week, nor have they in closing on a week. Also just they're not a good team. They look bad. When they play poorly for a stretch, they look like the worst team in baseball. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the carnage that Detroit is inflicting on the greater Denver metro area today, but other than that, they have a pretty good case that they are, and they certainly play like it this week. They don't have any tools in their golf bag. Brandon Drury finally went on the IL. He hasn't played in Charlotte for since the last week of April after taking another pitch off the same area. So I don't know what help is coming if it's not Tim Elko, and yeah, it's a bad situation. They're bad offense.
One question that we brought up while we were doing the playback watch party on Wednesday is why Nick Maton with Benintendi on the injured list? Are the White Sox burying Dominic Fletcher that far down the depth chart that they don't want to give Fletcher an opportunity? Because he has been hitting well in AAA, but we know that he really struggled hitting major league quality pitching.
Yeah, I think that one's a little surprising given that he was kind of the upon acquisition starting right fielder uh, last spring. Certainly didn't have a good season, but so I understand, kind of walling him off the major league roster with their acquisitions the way they did. The idea that he can play well in AAA and they need to solve the situation by adding a 40-man guy in some fashion, and that he's not even kind of sniffing that. Interesting. Um, Seems like that would be at least tangentially more worth exploring as far as the long-term considerations than Maton, even if you're not willing to pull the Elko trigger right now. But they've been pretty clear with how they've treated Fletcher from jump at the start of the season. So I don't know exactly where we're going to see him. It's a lot of kind of, it's hard. It's not like it's been a static roster without changes, but it's been a lot of sticking with plan A or B while getting bottom of the barrel results in a way that I don't quite really understand when it downshifts all the way to kind of like utility guys essentially playing like bat first roles, like starting right field, leading off, batting cleanup. It's like, well, here's a fifth outfielder that was bouncing around. Like it's seeming a little weird. I get all the reasons why you can't have like all your ice cream for dinner and just call up every prospect and only have guys you're excited about watching long term all flooding the lineup all at once and having nobody real who has any experience with what they're doing all playing the game at once. But they're not really providing compelling alternatives.
It just seems like, is it really just buying time until Tauchman and Slater come? It's just easier for Getz to cut the guys?
Tauchman is starting a rehab assignment this weekend, so he's at least a little bit closer than was feared. That it theoretically puts him in position to be there next week, whereas Slater hasn't started yet. But they sent they announced 3 rehab assignments, and I was like, well, one of them might come back. 2 of them might be going there for a while. So yeah, as far as reinforcements, they're a little light. I don't really know how Gage Workman smoothly fits on the roster with what they're doing, and I guess that might be more interesting to see what they're trying in other angles. But third base isn't really where they have a ton of PAs to throw around that they weren't using well before. So interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Miguel Vargas, he had some moments in this series, some positive moments. He had a game on Wednesday night where he hit 2 doubles, made some really good defensive plays as well. So if you're looking for optimism, I thought Miguel Vargas played well for 4 games. We hyped up Edgar Caro, but we also did admit that maybe a hitting slump would be coming. It came against Kansas City. But this was such a bad series offensively for the White Sox. Their league rankings entering Mother's Day weekend. As a team OPS 613, that's the worst in Major League Baseball. That's 5 points below where they finished in 2024. They're 29th in baseball on batting average with a team 216 average. Slugging percentage is 320. That's the worst in baseball. Their on-base percentage is 293. That's 27th in baseball. But the White Sox are only on pace now to score 546 runs. So for those that are tracking the steak dinner bet, I am currently winning the steak dinner bet if the season were to end today. So it's a step back from what we saw at home against the Astros, where it's like, hey, this is promising. This is fun. 15 runs in 3 games against a team that pitches really well in the Astros. Okay, maybe things will be clicking. Nothing in Kansas City. And not much has been happening well for the White Sox in Kansas City since 2021. The White Sox have now lost 11 straight games at Kauffman Stadium. The White Sox are 11-27 since 2021 at Kauffman Stadium. Now with the Athletics playing in Sacramento, which the White Sox lost that series earlier this year, James, is Kauffman now the new house of nightmares for the White Sox?
I mean, they haven't won there since 2023, so sure. I'm trying to break down an objective reason why they would struggle there beyond the Royals are better than them and playing them has been bad. They used to be very they still are very much set up to exploit the White Sox having bad defense. Now it's more they can't get Bobby Witt out, and they can't really control him on the base pass. I don't think either Carroll or like Tice have been bad at controlling the running game. They're just not going to like overwhelm a superstar like Witt. Whereas like, say what you want about Corey Lee, that'd be one like tool that's like on the level to pair up against Bobby Witt and actually hope you get some results and mess up some of their offensive innings. But yeah, I think the main thing is that the White Sox are bad and the Royals are at least decent. And so playing there, that stadium's great. It's like one of the biggest like visiting clubhouses. Like you're comfortable there. They're like arcade games. Like, is it too nice? Like, should they have to play in like Wrigley Field pre-renovation like clubhouse and then they'd be motivated? Like, they played decent in Sacramento and that place was a AAA park, but I don't know. It's statistically performing like that. Theoretically, like some tooled up team that like the White Sox just like can't. They can't get Aaron Judge out. Who's surprised? Like the Yankees should be like a nightmare matchup for them. Teams that just like do a ton of damage in the zone and like will bash their little cute designer changeups into hell. Like that would be the team I think they would struggle against. But the Royals, they do plenty as well. Even with like a White Sox team that's a bit more like we're gonna swing at the right pitches and throw the right base more often than not. He still brought the 2021 White Sox defense out of them when they were there and. God, I mean, Tuesday.
No, it goes back to Tuesday, what we saw in the ninth inning. And speaking of Tuesday night, Bobby Witt Jr. Had the walk-off hit in that game. Before, as we preview that series, I asked you, James, how can the White Sox get Bobby Witt Jr. out? And you just straight up said, don't even bother. Just hit him every single time. And the White Sox should have taken your advice because Bobby Witt Jr. went 8 for 17 against the White Sox in this series. With the home run and 6 RBIs, the White Sox only struck him out once in 4 games, and he had 4 stolen bases against the White Sox.
Well, they almost held him over 5 in a game.
They almost did.
Seems like that would be the one they should have won.
Bobby Witt Jr. was hitting .306 in the season before facing the White Sox. He's now batting .325. Big series for Bobby Witt Jr. So, again, the White Sox on the quest to figure out how they can get Bobby Witt Jr. out, and they have to continue wondering how they're going to win in Kansas City. Fun facts, again, the last time the White Sox won at Kauffman Stadium, September 6, 2023, Andrew Vaughn, Yohan Moncada, and Oscar Colas all homered in that game. Elvis Andrus went 4 for 5 in that game. Touki Toussaint got the win, and Brian Shaw got the save. So there you go, some fun facts.
My memory of this game is like right there. This seems like out of the park, just spit this out like from a simulation. Nothing of it really, all of it like is uncanny valley. Like it sounds real, but also doesn't feel right.
Were you there?
No. No.
That's right.
Probably like it was on the road and I was just freelancing home games. I was probably watching the Cubs being like, man, what's wrong with Justin Seal? Things are falling apart here. The end.
Well, speaking of Andrew Vaughn went 4 for 15 in the series. He did hit 2 doubles. One of those doubles was in large thanks to Jonathan India misplaying the ball, but it still counts as a double. Vaughn had 5 strikeouts, no walks. He had the chance on Wednesday night to be a hero with runners on first and second, no outs in the top of the 9th inning. The White Sox were down by a run, but Vaughn struck out on a high fastball. Vaughn in 8 games in the month of May. No homers yet. 3 doubles, 2 RBIs, 7 strikeouts to 1 walk. His OPS is .679. That's progress. Now, on Thursday during the game, standing on third base with no outs, Vaughn ran on a weak grounder hit to third baseman Michael Garcia of the Royals. And Vaughn was thrown out by at least 8 feet at home plate. It was not close. But many speculated while watching the play it was another contact play, just like in Sacramento when Vaughn also received a 2 plan in that series for being thrown out at home on a very similar play, a weak grounder hit to the third baseman. White Sox manager Will Venable was asked about that play and said this in the post-game presser with audio from CHSN.
Did he have to go on the contact? No, in that situation, if it's not a double play ball, you don't have to go. So that's something that we'll talk about and walk through. It's kind of one of those in between plays where they're back, so you think that they're not going to come get you, but you don't have to go if it's not a double play ball.
James, Venables says it's not a contact play, and they'll talk to Vaughn about that type of situation. How do you feel about the contact play in Major League Baseball overall? Not just Vaughn, but throughout the league when you're watching games. How do you feel about it?
From the way it's being deployed and the way managers, I was reading even story about Matt Quatraro talking about it. It seems like the statistical case is pretty clearly it's kind of the playing the infield in now where you see them doing the first inning where it's just it's a little bit automatic if certain parameters are hit as far as run expectancy to do it. So I think in most cases, I think the statistical argument is to do it having trading, if it's the same out calculation as I'm going to first, trading off the opportunity to score a run is worth the drawback of still having a runner on and the inning's still going. Most of the time, I think obviously an extreme case of when it's use some field judgment to go against that is when you have a 20 or 30 grade runner as who's you're executing the contact play with. If you clearly see that the infield's playing back, then obviously that dictates it as well. None of it seemed to be the case here, especially the ball hit the third, and you have Vaughn running. So I think the generic situations there, run, force the defense to do something, especially with another base runner already on, you theoretically can get someone backfield to scoring position. But with the third baseman in, with Vaughn running, you're so clearly not going to get the payoff that the general generic statistical analysis doesn't apply, which is why it's all the more troubling. It's a read situation. Now, watching the game play out, it feels kind of clearly like a heat check. Vaughn got the third on a ball that he should not have been able to get the third on. That it was whoa, you're seeing him kind of size it up because it's a slow roller and he runs around it and you're he's not really going to take off on that, is he? And then he got away with it. And I don't know, Bobby Witt kind of made a mental error where I don't know if he was surprised that Vaughn went or that made him forget a bit how fast Palacios was, but they wind up getting this gift runners on first and third situation out of that anyway. And this seemed all right, let's keep putting pressure on the defense. And, then things normalized pretty quickly and it became bad ideas again. So that's how it seemed like it played out in real time a bit more. But I think, especially for the White Sox as a whole, what their team is, contact play kind of is the way they would run, of just constantly running because they don't have many opportunities to create runs or even create pressure on the defense. It's just you can pick out which guys not to do it with, Edgar Caro, Andrew Vaughn, even Matt Tice. I'd say let it go, buddy. Why not? Once you get to bottom of the scale running, it's where I think that the calculus should change a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. My constructive criticism about this particular situation, because this has now happened twice to Vaughn. This happened in Sacramento. You were there and you saw it. And then we called it out then. Now it's happened. So in the last couple of weeks, we've seen this play happen twice.
That time Venable did say it was a contact play for what it's worth.
So one time it was, the second time it was not. The White Sox hitters have to hit the ball in the air. You got to do better than just a grounder to third base. So that's easy, the constructive criticism, but the ball in air. That'll give Vaughn an easier chance to score. My second point, third base coach Justin Jerschley, in my opinion, needs to take some responsibility here. And he needs to be in Vaughn's ear about the situation because there's no outs. Even if the ball is hit that slow, turning a double play would be pretty difficult. You'd still are just 90 feet away, even if they do turn a double play. Or maybe you do go if they are attempting the double play. If he moves over to second, then hustle down to home. Let's take the free run if they're going to opt out for the 2 outs, which I think defensively, maybe that's what you want to do. But I think Jerschley needs to take some responsibility here and be a little bit more active as a third base coach, getting these guys ready. Third, Andrew Vaughn, buddy. I know I'm on you all the time, but damn, you are slow. You can't take a big lead because you're slow. if a liner's hit directly at the third baseman and you're too far off, you're probably going to get doubled up at third base. So you got to stay close. You don't get good secondary leads on any base, which means when a ball's hit the third in that situation, you got to cover more ground because your lead's not that large. You don't get a secondary lead like Luis Robert and Brooks Baldwin get. So you got to cover more ground at a slower rate than some of the faster runners on the team. Like, you kind of need to check yourself a little bit and understand your restrictions as a player on the field. So that's my constructive criticism on that particular play. Yeah, the contact play, I'm just not crazy about it, especially when a ball is hit the third base. I think we've seen too many White Sox runners panic and just immediately go because the ball's been hit and they're automatic. They're heading home and runs are being lost, or an opportunity to just wait out and see if the next guy can drive you in. I still think that is valuable. But yeah, hopefully we don't see that again from Andrew Vaughn. But not much is working for Vaughn, and especially to start in 2025. Sox Machine, along with our friends from the 108 and Chicago Sports Bums, are hosting the hashtag 108ing road trip, visiting Pittsburgh from July 18th to the 20th. This road trip is almost sold out. We only have 20 tickets available for our pregame party at McFadden's Pittsburgh, plus the game ticket for Saturday, July 19th, as the White Sox battle the Pirates. Each ticket comes with a $10 concession credit. So this is the hashtag 108ing package. It's only $65, includes the 2 hours all you can drink at McFadden's for the pregame party, plus the game ticket, plus the $10 concession credit. It's a great deal and a big reason why we are so close to selling out due to capacity. Go to shop.soxmachine.com to purchase your package. Also available is the road trip gear. Our friends from the 108 in their store now have t-shirts and trucker caps for purchase. You can get the hashtag 108ing bundle that includes a shirt, cap, and the official road trip koozie for $35. Pre-orders are taking place now, so you can get the gear before making your way to Pittsburgh. Visit fromthe108.bigcartel.com. Again, that URL is fromthe108.bigcartel.com to purchase. And we can't wait to see everyone in Pittsburgh.
Yo, it's D-Lo. I'm partnering with Ro. Women, y'all feel that? It's sexy. But if you're stressing about your performance, it throws you off. That's why I rock with Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks dissolve under your tongue and hit fast so you're ready when the moment pops off. You feel like a superhero. It's satisfying your partner. That's key. Rose Sparks help you last longer, stay fuller, and keep the whole vibe right. When prescribed, new patients get $15 off their first order. Hit up ro.co/backyard and to see if Rose Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/backyard and see if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved. Do not undergo FDA safety effectiveness or manufacturing review. For full safety information, go to ro.co/safety-info.
I'm excited to tell you about the designs Homage has cooked up for the 2025 MLB season. If you're as baseball obsessed as I am, you'll love the full roster of major league looks from Homage. Amazing comfort and deep cut designs that help fans show off passion for their favorite teams. Homage has a massive selection that tells the story of the greatest sport from its very beginnings. Deep logo history, coast-to-coast stadium tours, and the biggest players from every era. Legends never die at Homage. If you need your new shirt for going to a ball game, Homage has you covered with its most comfortable fan clothing, and it's available for fans of all ages. This year's collection hits dinger after dinger after tater after tater. Fleece, tees, bottoms, and more. And don't forget to check out the new starter jacket lineup, an iconic dugout look you don't want to miss. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and these looks go long, period. Check out the Homage MLB collection to find your team's coolest gear.
So the White Sox are 10-28, 18 games below 500 at the 38 game mark. Last place in the American League Central. But they're coming home, and they're facing the Miami Marlins, who are also last place in their division. They are 9 games back in the National League East. The Marlins are 14-22 this year. They lost their last game. They're on a cold streak. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. and they're not very good away from Miami. They are 4-10 this season. Offensively, the Marlins rank 18th in Major League Baseball in team OPS. They're at 691 as a team. They've hit 32 home runs. That's 21st in Major League Baseball. Pitching has been bad for the Marlins. Their starters have an ERA of 6.35. That's the second worst in Major League Baseball. The bullpen, a full run better, but a 5.32 ERA from the bullpen is not good. That's 27th in Major League Baseball. Your pitching problems for this series. Friday, May 9th is Harry Potter night. Max Meyer, who has been pitching well for the Marlins, will get the start against Bryce Wilson for the White Sox. Saturday, May 10th at 6:10 p.m. Central Time. This is Teacher Appreciation Night. Edward Cabrera and his 6.29 ERA against Shane Smith. And on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 11th, this is at 1:10 p.m. Central Time start. Sandy Alcantara, who has an 8.42 ERA this season, takes the ball for the Marlins against Sean Burke. And the top hitters for the Marlins, really, it's just Kyle Stowers right now. He's batting .303 this year with 6 homers and 25 RBIs. When I look at this series on paper, James, it seems like it could be a nice bounce back weekend for the White Sox. How are you feeling about this series matchup for the White Sox?
Definitely an opportunity. Wouldn't assume anything. Bounce back kind of implies like winning is the norm. So like, I don't know, bounce back. Do you mean bounce back like
winning the seris?
If it's their norm, it's like, winning 1 out of 3. That's been their sweet spot. Like having one game where they all feel pretty good about how they perform, but not getting swept and then moving on. So yeah, there was that opportunity. I can already like see like Sandy Alcantara gets right type of like narratives coming out. Like I think they had opportunities against Chris Bubich, who has been pitching extremely well. They cannibalized them in really impressive fashion. Theoretically, this is a team that's, I feel like with Stowers, they got like a bit more interesting power bats. They're young to kind of watch, but theoretically also has the same depth issues offensively as the White Sox. And while you see more top of the rotation stuff from their starting rotation, the performances have been way more erratic. Seems like White Sox pitchers are a bit better at avoiding like the blow up, don't throw strikes type of disaster start than these guys are, if their highs are higher. But they're playing really bad. They don't have Benintendi, who I think is sneaky important for their offense. They don't have Tachman for a while yet, who I hope he's important based on the way things have been without him. And you're seeing a little bit of what could be expected from Mydroth and Caro as far as like league adjustments and not everything dropping in forever. So don't have a specific reason to be confident about anything. I don't know. Hopefully it goes well. My mother and sister are going to be at the game on Saturday, so also we would send a dark message for Teacher Appreciation Night to go south. Things have been hard enough over the last few years for our teachers to not have that game go sideways.
Yeah, I think the White Sox can win this series because after this series, the first quarter of the 2025 season is over, and we can have first quarter grades on the next podcast episode. They will not be pretty. They haven't. It
would nice to be on pace for more than 41 wins.
Yeah, it would be
nice.
At
the quarter mark. That'd be a big boon.
It would be nice. Give it a little bit more confidence. Sandy Alcantara, do you have a good feeling of what's going on with him? Because along with Luis Robert, who's still, I think, batting below 200 on the season, Alcantara is supposed to be a big trade piece as well. That could be dealt before the July deadline. But when he got an 8.42 ERA, I don't think the Marlins can get a lot for him until he gets on a hot streak, right?
You certainly don't want to like trade him at diminished value, I would think. I wouldn't say like no one would look at his raw ingredients and be like, how do we make this guy who's still throwing 97 effective? So I think he's not pitching to get traded, even if I don't think like his value is eliminated. His sinker is getting like whacked around, which is kind of not unprecedented, but a little abnormal. But yeah, both his fastballs are getting hit a lot. So maybe some shape differences since TJ be my theory developed in the last like 45 seconds. But I don't know. Strange.
It is strange. Hopefully,
I thought
he
TJ was supposed
stays
to be a
cold.
foolproof process, and that's why you should just get the surgery at first step, and there's never any drawbacks or any differences or changes. Any player not rushing into surgery is doing themselves a disservice, as we all know.
Yes, because we all know next year, all six, right, Tommy Johns that the White Sox have had to deal with, they're all going to bounce back, and they're going to be right
Throw
back
harder,
to normal.
maybe even.
God forbid. One of them, maybe. Well, we'll see how this series goes. Are you doing anything Mother's Day? So you said your mother is going on Saturday night, not on Mother's Day.
Right.
Okay. Well, hopefully the White Sox do play well on Mother's Day. Do you know they're going to have the pink bats again?
I would assume, or some proliferation of pink gear.
Yeah.
Seems normal. A lot of player agencies set that up, or equipment deals that they have kind of get through. So we'll see. I can't imagine Edgar Caro taking plays off on designer catching gear. He seems pretty locked in.
Yes. Thank you, by the way. Great callback by James, because podcast listeners, if you recall, my obsession with what I was hoping was 24 karat gold on Edgar Caro's bat. But instead, James was able to find out that it's this company that not only does the bat tape, they also do tape for tennis rackets, pickleball rackets, and bikes as well. Like you can do the bike tape. And that's what Caro has. You can get the gold bike tape on the website. So if you're interested, I can definitely put in the comment section, the soxmachine.com comment section underneath the podcast post, where you can buy this tape. In case if any of you guys are big into cycling or pickleball, you can get fancy tape for your equipment as well, just like Edgar Caro.
And when I was done asking Edgar about a question that I didn't truly understand, and Edgar is trying to figure out in his second language what the hell I'm asking about, and we were able to actually figure it out, I think we both felt really accomplished in that moment. Like we both worked hard to get where we're at. Him overcoming more difficulties than me in parsing a question that'd be garbled in any language. But props to him.
Oh, there's another question from the watch party on playback. My Sox Summer, a friend over from the 108, James, thinks that Brooks Baldwin should get a neck tattoo to make him look older. So, next time you're just yapping it up with Brooks, if you're going to ask, Brooks, if you ever got a neck tattoo, well, one, would you get a neck tattoo? And two, what would you get tattooed on your neck?
I have to come out against this. Locker rooms are close quarters. You're often trying to like identify someone from afar, and guys trudging out of the shower with like the same color towel around their waist and like their head down, and like if they have maybe neck length black hair, you can't really discern one if that's Davis Martin or if that's Brooks Baldwin. The tat level differential is the key to instantly determining whether Davis Martin's coming towards you or Brooks Baldwin is. So messing with this, I feel, would make my job harder in a way that I can't support.
Okay. Are neck tattoos popular within the White Sox clubhouse? Now that I'm on this topic, because Michael Kopech had one, didn't he?
Kopech, I think near the end. Abreu and Moncada certainly had some. Notably, both not on the team anymore. Luis Roberts, like, basically he's got some. I wouldn't say it's like super popular where I'm seeing it like on every guy, but it's definitely not like verboten or anyway. I think you see a lot more sleeves and shoulders in general. But there are a few.
Yeah, because Davis Martin's got the sleeve on his left arm. And I've always wondered about that. Like, do pitchers not get tattoos on their throwing arm? Just in case if they wreck something.
Here and there. It varies.
Got it. Yeah, I've always wondered about that. But yeah, sorry about the random tattoo conversation podcast.
Oh, no, they want us to parse the 10-0 loss a bit more.
Next weekend, Sox Machine will be hosting a White Sox watch party at the Remova Loft inside the Remova Theater off 35th in Halstead on Saturday, May 17th at 1 p.m. Central Time. Watch the White Sox battle the Chicago Cubs on Remova's 20-foot video wall. We'll have baseball trivia going on between innings and baseball bingo throughout the game, where you can win prizes. Remova now has a burger of the month, which this month's is a muffaletta burger. That sounds awesome. You can also check out the new beer options as well. The event is free and kids are welcome, so if you have problems getting CHSN to work on your antenna, or you don't even have the marquee channel, or you don't have the CHSN app, forget those stresses and come down to the Remova Loft for the Sox Machine watch party to watch the White Sox against the Cubs on Saturday, May 17th.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We all belong outside. We're drawn to nature, whether it's the recorded sounds of the ocean we doze off to, or the succulents that adorn our homes. Nature makes all of our lives, well, better. Despite all this, we often go about our busy lives removed from it. But the outdoors is closer than we realize. With All Trails, you can discover trails nearby and explore confidently. With offline maps and on-trail navigation, download the free app today.
Some news for the White Sox, some sad news to start with. Chet Lemon passed away at age 70, as the White Sox announced on social media. The two-time All-Star with the Chicago White Sox back in 1978 and 1979. Lemon made his MLB debut with the White Sox at age 20 in 1975. In that 1979 season, Lemon led the league with 44 doubles. And he had a terrific stretch with the White Sox from 1977 to 1981, spanning 5 seasons. Lemon was at least a 4-WAR player, according to BaseballReference.com. It's 785 games with the White Sox. Lemon was a 24.9 WAR player. Since integration, that 24.9 WAR mark makes Lemon the best center fielder in White Sox history. Only one dog, Lance Johnson, has accumulated more than 20 WAR playing center field for the White Sox. Luis Robert currently is around 15 WAR with his tenure during the White Sox. Lemon joined the Detroit Tigers in 1982 and was part of their 1984 World Series championship squad. In 9 years with the Tigers, Lemon was worth 30.7 WAR in over 1,200 games. 55 WAR career for Chet Lemon. So I'm curious to see if a future Hall of Fame committee considers his candidacy if they vote him into the Hall of Fame. He's right there as far as part of the conversation in future committees during the winter meetings. And then finally, the biggest news around the world, there is a new pope, and he's from Chicago. Cardinal Robert Prevost will now be Pope Leo XIV, not Pope Bob, that so many were hoping that he'd be, but I'm sure that will be his nickname in Chicago. And first reported by ABC News, of course, ABC News, part of the Disney conglomerate and sister network to ESPN, the continued White Sox erasure from Disney. A reporter claimed that Cardinal Prevost was a Cubs fan. Not true. The new pope is a White Sox fan. Thanks to WGN's Dana Rebeck, who sat down with the Pope's brother. And to confirm that, no idea where that news came from, that he was a Cubs fan, he's been a White Sox fan. So the Pope James is a White Sox fan. Can the Pope deliver a miracle and save the White Sox?
I would think I have so many emotions running through. Largely, I know we all feel like larger emotional, maybe family connections. I just think if I put in some other context of can the Pope save a struggling multi-billion-dollar corporations revenue streams, I don't know. Just doesn't seem like a pressing mission. I would. One, he's like spent most of his life working in Peru. Can't imagine the last time the White Sox have successfully signed a player from that part of the world. International operation, famously kind of scattershot. Just it doesn't seem like they're synergistically lined up as far as. What are we talking about?
We're talking for a miracle. We're asking for anything to shine light on the White Sox, to spark some kind of turnaround. We're tired of seeing Nick Maton hit for the White Sox, James. Anything for hope. That's where we're at for White Sox fans. The Pope is a White Sox fan. Maybe he can save the franchise. No.
This feels very like, I don't know, like a large, like the equivalent of like, you know, like the Simpsons scene where like the band is playing the concert, he has the look on the back of his car like, oh, we love playing in Springfield. It's just kind of like being like, the Pope grew up, he's a Sox fan, like, hey, it's like God shining his light on. Like the connection is so tangential that it feels, I don't know, silly. I see everyone's gravitating around it. I'm trying to imagine, like, what if I had to talk about this with a normal person who wasn't like dangerously online like myself. Like I can imagine my mother-in-law being like, oh, here the Pope is a White Sox fan. I'd have to have like a normal pleasant answer because he's a normal pleasant person. But it just seems very like the way both teams rush to like claim credit and like take this as some sort of weird branding marketing opportunity was just like, gave me the willies. Though I guess like all great like White Sox sin, it's, you know, justified by the idea that the Cubs did it first, and now this is, you know, rubbing in their eyes, which honestly I can't support, and now I come around to it. So
the White Sox did say they are sending a uniform to the Vatican.
Is it a City Connect?
I don't know. I'll have to ask Brooks Boyer next time I see Brooks. What did you send over to the Pope, to the Vatican? But I gotta imagine, is the Pope now the most famous White Sox fan? Does he surpass Barack Obama? Well,
like obviously we make this fun. Like one, you know, we normally record on Sundays and Thursdays, but you know, Vatican, like we'll accommodate whatever schedule. If he like is serious about this, if he wants to talk Jared Schuster's changeup and how much more it's dropping this season, like any real fan would, then I think we'll make time for him, His Holiness. If he wants to tilt more like prospect heavy, if he's really into like Christian Appor and does have an idea of like what his slider shape should be as he gets to the upper levels, we do want to hear that. I assume he has an opinion on that, but it remains to be seen how engaged he wants to be about this. I think we need to really know that he understands what they're trying to do on a pitch dev level before we ask for a miracle from the Pope. He needs to have a lot of ideas about seam effects before we move forward with him.
All right. So there you go, Pope Leo. If you're open to it, we'll do a podcast with you.
Be prepared to answer questions about the 2016 draft.
If he visits Chicago and goes to a White Sox game, you could be there, James. You can ask the Pope about neck tattoos and bat wraps. Think of other interesting questions you can ask the Pope. Along with the seam shift, of course. That is important. And what he thinks about Jared Schuster and White Sox pitching prospects. But that will do it for this episode of the Sox Machine Podcast. What a week for the White Sox. Hopefully it's a much better weekend against Miami. Not a whole lot great going on. But hey, again, the Pope is a White Sox fan, so there's at least that. You can subscribe to the Sox Machine Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Spotify and Apple Music. You could also listen and watch the show on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Sox Machine. Continue to upload more draft videos for you guys to check out the upcoming prospects, as the MLB draft is not that far away, just the middle of July. As we get more mock drafts as well, we'll have additional interviews with those draft analysis soon, so you can check out those episodes too. You can follow Sox Machine on social media wherever We are at Sox Machine. You can also follow James at JR Fegan. He'll be at the stadium this weekend covering the games for us. You can follow me at SoxMachine_Josh. If you enjoy our work and you want more, or you want to unlock all of our access to the Chicago White Sox and Major League Baseball, sign up at SoxMachine.com. Monthly plans start at $5. We also have additional tiers of support. We're going to have a sweet night with our Veterans Committee members on Sox Machine. So if you want to participate in that, you want to have direct access to James and pester him with questions that you want him to ask White Sox players and personnel in the clubhouse, go to SoxMachine.com to sign up today. The Sox Machine podcast is a production of SoxMachine.com, your home for all things Chicago White Sox baseball and part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. Alongside James Fegan, I'm Josh Nelson. Thanks for listening and watching.